Cause front. I'm staying right here though.
And who are we? Oh yeah.
Battle Cat.
I'm playing Battle
I
Cat.
thought you were gonna say Battle Pass for a second.
I'm so good at this game.
Which you get them
Dying a lot.
Bro, I'm fighting this guy right now.
Yo.
Bro, it's my seat.
No,
You just stole my seat. Let me have my seat back.
There's a squid behind me. Bro, how was nobody on it? It's sad.
Bro, sometimes in life, yo, they're getting, yo, we'll get 3 up, bro. And I think it's time for them. They're like, oh, get over. Jack, make sure you know what you're sitting on before you sit down. They're fighting. And look at the seat you just sat in. What is that? Tell me what that is.
It's calm.
Yo, you can't take over the world because you got nothing.
It worked. Let's go.
Ronnie said you were very annoying and wanted me to stay your seat. And I also wanted to take your seat.
No. I don't want to.
Why? Don't look up. He's live streaming.
Bro, this kid's named Squid, bro.
I don't want to really care.
Bro, we're playing Battle Cats.
I want to be done, bro.
Yo, how can I get this cat?
That's what I said.
Yo! I just realized. Oh, good morning,
Thanks for
Tim.
charger.
Morning, Tim. Tim's a
Hi, I
poor
love
guy.
you, Tim.
I'm gonna upgrade my cat.
Yeah, boy, you upgraded.
Somebody yes. Somebody yes.
Huh?
Somebody
This
yes.
guy one-shots everything.
Okay.
What?
Never mind.
Look, all dead.
That's absurd.
I know, it's funny. He's over here.
Hey Wyatt.
Hello.
Can I use your charger?
Are you excited? Good morning.
Yeah.
Are you excited about Arlington Cemetery?
Oh, yeah.
It should be. It's going to be a very unique experience.
Hi, Tim.
You know, sometimes it's kind of scary to come back to the back of the bus.
That's kind of true, honestly. Let me get to the back of the bus. What's good, Michael? How you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Huh?
None.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
You sure about that?
$4?
Oh, I turned this into what you think it is. Turn this into what you think it is. I'm your big fan. Oh. You said appreciate it, bro. Very appreciated.
Get more money.
Bro, stop.
Sorry.
Guys, don't put me in the title.
That's
You can show my face, just like, don't put me in the title. Don't put my, in the title.
Yeah, that's definitely not that guy. You're definitely not that guy.
Bro, who's Beatron alt?
I don't know.
Do you like Sigma? Hi.
That's getting old. What's good, Brickhead? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream.
Do the Sigma face now.
It's too old, dude. I can't do it.
Do you like Sigma? Is what the black hole said. The black hole.
I'm not doing that. Shut up, Michael. Shut up, Michael.
I also turned this into what you think it is. Yeah, I turned this into what you think it is.
Alright, who said no?
Thank you.
Who said no?
I mean, yeah, nice.
Who said no?
Oh, 4 votes. 4 votes.
I know, he's got 4 votes.
Yeah. I don't even know who that Beatron
Oh.
is, but sorry, bro. My friend put this.
It's okay, man. It's alright.
It's all good, bro. I love you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know. Just a few reminders. So I'll wait till you're done.
Turn it into
Just a few reminders. We are going to a active cemetery. So there will be no kind of funny business accepted. You're going to put your phones away unless you're
Back
taking a
home.
picture. You're going to take your AirPods out. You might as well leave them on the bus. And you are going to pay attention to Tim when he's giving you all the information because it is extremely important and symbolic, and that's why we're here. It's the big event. Have a little bit of a ride, and then when we get there, on best behavior. Thumbs up if you hear me.
I'm on a tour bus. Tour
Love it.
bus.
Thank you.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
On the way.
Michael's a spooky, scary skeleton.
Oh, safe. Oh, yeah.
What's this squid doing in the back?
So Wyatt, look up. Wyatt, look up. Wyatt, look up.
Yeah.
End your life.
Okay.
Alright, back.
Back after Arlington, we will be
Oh my god, these kids are playing back. Okay. Bro, this sets you legs kind of.
As you let me use your charger.
Dude, you don't
Yeah.
something, bro. Oh, God.
Bro,
Wait,
what?
7 votes, 7 votes. That's what I'm talking about.
This is a very tragic battle.
Bro, who keeps voting no?
This battle.
Your mom.
He's a little fruity.
You are gay.
You've never even met this
Bro,
person.
you got
I
34
do not remember
views.
this battle, but I do
I know.
remember this battle of China versus
Guys, he
Sparrows.
smokes.
No, I don't. He smokes. He smokes.
No, I
So I
don't.
think
I don't look like someone that smokes. No. You do.
You look like someone
You look
who's...
baked.
Bro, boo.
Of course, you want something baked.
Boo, I suck. Yeah, baby, you don't suck. You suck your mom. You suck your mom. No.
Trust, it gets more interesting.
You don't. No.
Drive, you big subscriber. I'm not supposed to drive, bro.
Drive, you big bolt. Are you talking about me, Black Hole? That's
Oh
what
my
I'm
god,
talking about.
bro.
Like I said, I am.
His go is just trying to go up.
All right, guys. Once again, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I just sent out a link on the thread or your remind about Charles Murray, who your school is named in honor of, and just a way to familiarize yourself with this extraordinary guy. He was a colonel in the U.S. Army, and he has a connection to one of the main things we're going to be doing today, and that is witnessing the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And he, at one time, was a tomb guard. And God, I was reading about this gentleman last night, and he's amazing. A Medal of Honor recipient. That's the highest honor that a soldier can receive for his bravery in battle. And it's an honor that is bestowed upon a soldier after his commander has
Our tour
heard
guide.
about his acts of bravery in battle from fellow soldiers. And he was in World War II in Korea. A lot of soldiers that served in World War II in the final 2 years of the war, like 43, 45, a lot of those soldiers also served in Korea. And he also served in Vietnam. So he served in 3 conflicts, got a Medal of Honor for his bravery in World War II, and also a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart. And just those 3 medals alone, the Silver Star, the Purple Heart, and the Bronze Star, will make you eligible to be buried at Arlington Cemetery. And once again, the Civil War was the bloodiest battle that this country has ever fought in. And that was a battle over the issue of slavery and states' rights.
Go ahead. That's all good.
And during the Civil War in 1863, right in the middle of the war, All of the cemeteries of Washington were full. Now, we had a lot of major battles of the Civil War to occur in this part of the country. And a lot of those soldiers wounded in action would be sent here to Washington for medical care, and unfortunately they would die here. And so in 1863 they were looking for a place of honor to bury these Union soldiers, as all the cemeteries were full in the city of Washington. And right before the Civil War begins in April of 1861, a gentleman who was a colonel in the Union Army, we're talking about Robert E. Lee, but he was a proud Virginian, and back during the days of the Civil War in the 1860s, loyalty to state was a little bit stronger than loyalty to country as a whole. And he knew his beloved Virginia would succeed to the Confederacy. And Abraham Lincoln even asked Robert E. Lee, Colonel Lee, would you command the Army of the Potomac in the upcoming Civil War? And he took a couple of days to think about it, and he said, you know, Mr. President, I just can't bear arms against my fellow Virginians. And so he resigns his commission as a colonel in the Union Army and would become a general in the Confederate Army, and would lead the Northern Army of Virginia in some of the epic battles of the Civil War, including the Battle of Gettysburg, which occurred the first 3 days of July of 1863. And that was the Confederacy's one and only chance to score a victory in the North. Now back then, if you passed over, so if you could get a battle at Gettysburg, if you could get a victory at Gettysburg, that victory would change the minds of the Northerners who were growing tired of the bloody battles of the Civil War. But after 3 days of battle at Gettysburg, that would not happen for Confederate General Robert E. Lee. He would lose that battle.
It was so good.
And that would be the beginning of the end of the Confederacy, and he would surrender his troops to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant, our 18th president as well, in April of 1865. But back at Arlington Cemetery, you're going to see a house on top of the hill at the cemetery. That is where Robert E. Lee lived for 36 years before the Civil War. He and his wife, Marianna Custis Lee, would raise 6 children in that house you're going to see on top of the hill there. And at the beginning of the Civil War, the Union Army came across the Potomac and seized the property where Lee once lived, because right before the Civil War, Washington did not have any defensive forts or any way to protect itself. And if you stand in front of that house, you will get the best view of Washington that there is. And that was a perfect place for a lookout to protect the capital city from possible Confederate attack. So the Union Army came over, took over the property, took over the house. Robert E. Lee had already ridden off on his horse Traveler to command the Northern Army of Virginia, but his wife Marianna was still living in the house when the Union Army shows up, and she would once more during the middle of the Civil War. But by that time, he started burying soldiers right around the house where Robert E. Lee once lived, to make sure that Lee would never want to return to his beloved Arlington plantation. And yes, it was a plantation before the Civil War. More than 200 enslaved individuals, mostly those that had was enslaved at Mount Vernon, the home of George and Martha Washington. And it was Martha Washington's grandson, Park Custis, that would build that house that you're going to see on top of the hill this morning. So by the end of the Civil War, more than 13,000 Union soldiers had been buried there. And it would be deemed a national military
How many boys are
cemetery
going?
by Abraham Lincoln. That's where these national military cemeteries that are
About, like,
located
20
across
or
this
something, I don't
country,
know.
and there are 132 of them.
Let's get scuba mechanic.
That's where they began during the Civil War. And this national little cemetery than the others. Cemetery lay rest 2 American presidents on 27th morning. Excuse me. Side of our 35th president, John F. Kennedy, the youngest person to ever be elected president, at the age of 43, and unfortunately be the youngest president to die while in office at the age of 46. He was assassinated in Dallas in November of 1963. And we'll hear more about that story when we get over to his particular gravesite, and the eternal flame that was lit by First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy on November 25th, 1963, at the funeral of her slain husband. Also at this cemetery, over 450,000 soldiers, 450,000 soldiers are interred in this cemetery that have given their lives in service to this country in all branches of our military. Have you ever heard of the phrase, the cost of freedom? Ever heard that phrase, the cost of freedom? Well, this morning you're going to see with your own eyes the cost of freedom. When you look at, as far as the eye can see, these iconic white marble military-issued headstones. And that should tell you, wow, look at the sacrifice that has been made, and I see it with my own eyes, the sacrifice. You should have a renewed spirit of patriotism, pride in your country when you leave this cemetery. If you don't, maybe you're not being focused enough, because I don't know how any person who would come here for the first time. Has any of you ever been to Arlington Cemetery?
Tim Malone did.
Okay, all right. Well, those that have not, it's kind of overwhelming when you see all these headstones and know of the sacrifice behind each and every one of these headstones. And these soldiers knew they were fighting for their country, but they were fighting for freedom.
Volkswagen GTI.
But they also knew that we've got to fight for this country to preserve our democratic way of life. Because if we don't, all of these other evils that are in the world, communists, the imperialistic Japanese, they will one day come knocking on our door. And it's better to fight the enemy over there than here. And they do that. And that was a lot of their inspiration in serving and fighting, knowing that they were going to make this country a lot better than what the country was when they were serving. And for that, we give them forever respect. And also, I think every one of these soldiers laid to rest here would feel kind of proud that young Americans come to learn about their service and sacrifice, maybe visit their gravesite. They'll understand how special it is to serve in the U.S. military. Every soldier that serves in the military always gets the utmost respect from his fellow countrymen. And that's why so many of our brave young men and women have joined the military. Anyone interested? And I know you're young, but anyone kind of thinking that maybe one day I might want to be in the military? Okay. Yeah. It is a great career. It's a great honor to serve your country, even if you just serve for one tour, like 4 years. I think the tour of duty is for the soldiers. And if you're looking to see the world and get your education paid for, then the military does that. But also, this morning, we are going to make our way up to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Now, that tomb contains the unknown remains of a soldier who fought in World Wars I, II, and Korea. We've been to those memorials. We went to the Korean War Memorial with the soldiers and the faces on the wall that we saw. And we went over to the World War II Memorial with those pillars representing the 48 states and 8 territories. We saw the honor flight yesterday of those older veterans who served in the military. So we are aware, I think you are aware of the service's sacrifice. And this morning we're going to kind of bring it full circle as we will honor those here at the cemetery this morning. See the changing of the guard. The tomb that you're about to see has been guarded every minute, every hour, every day, every war for 80 years of continuous service. Not 1 minute, not one snowstorm, not one rain, thunder, and lightning storm never kept these sentinels from guarding that tomb. An unknown soldier, back during World War I, a lot of our young men here in this country, full of patriotism, ready to fight against the tyranny, the evils of the world, gladly joined the military and went to fight in France and the trenches between France and Germany to help our ally France and to rid the world of the evil they were fighting against, the Germans. So this morning, I think your mindset should be like, I personally am going to honor these soldiers by my attitude, my actions, my willingness to learn a little bit more about this cemetery, and to put your hand over your heart when they start the ceremony of the changing of the guard, and then we'll see a replay of 4 of our students from Murray Middle School are going to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier this morning. And not every school gets to do that. And those students will be stepping in the steps of presidents and foreign leaders who have come here since the tomb has been dedicated way back in 1921, who have come to this cemetery and come to that tomb to lay a wreath in honor of all soldiers who have given their lives in service to this country. And then we'll go visit the gravesite of Charles Murray, the gentleman who your school is named in honor of. Does anyone have a family member that is buried here? Okay. All right, and we looked up your family member's gravesite, which is kind of very close to the visitor center. This is a 650-acre cemetery. You're wondering, how can you bury 450,000 people on 650 acres of land? You can't. But 90% of the interments here are committing cremated remains to these buildings called columbariums. And the cremated remains go into a little niche inside the columbariums. And the front of the niches look just like the front of these headstones of those that are buried in ground here. And committing those cremated remains to those columbariums allow for more soldiers to be interred at this very special cemetery. Now, it was a quiet cemetery before President Kennedy was buried here in 1963. And then the military, and the soldiers all wanted to be buried where American presidents are buried and where all of our American heroes are buried. You know, only 12 people have walked on the face of the moon, and they all were Americans. And 4 of those astronauts are buried here. The Allied Supreme Commander of our forces in World War I, General John J. Pershing, is buried here. And over 400 Medal of Honor recipients. Once again, that's the highest honor a soldier can receive for his bravery in battle. Excuse me, are buried here. So this is a special place. And there must be a reason that every school group that comes to Washington, on their itinerary is a visit here to Arlington Cemetery.
I'm sorry, Squid.
It's a way for young people
All
to,
morning.
well, begin to think about
It's been
thinking
going on
about
since
those
Friday.
who've given lives
It's been a
to
hell.
create a society that we live in today. This society didn't just happen. And there's been struggle, there's been hardship, and there's been sadness with the death of so many of our soldiers who fought on foreign lands to make sure that they don't fight here. And I think this country learned its lessons after the Civil War. And we don't want to fight the enemy here at home. We'd rather cross oceans and walk across deserts and up snowy peaks and all kinds of weather and conditions. We'd rather fight them over there than fight them here. And for their bravery for doing that is why we have a peaceful society today. All right, well, we're here just a little bit early. But, we're going to get off our motor coach when we get into our parking spot, go through security. That'll be your last chance for a bathroom break. And they'll walk what is known as the Hills of Heroes. And we'll know what I'm talking about once we start walking into the cemetery.
Finally. I feel like
Hey, does anyone have any questions about the cemetery just before we get started? Any questions? Huh? Okay. Yes. Yeah, over time, they would add unknown remains of soldiers who have fought in other conflicts, World War II and Korea. Now, at one time, there was a unknown remains that were interred in the crypt at the Tomb of the Unknown of a soldier from Vietnam. And interred there in 1984. And would be interred at the tomb until 1998 when DNA identification technology became available. And there was a family who had a son who they didn't know what happened to that served in Vietnam. But they had a lot of evidence of maybe their son was the unknown soldier. Unknown soldier, his remains were found near a crash site, but there was no identification. His body had deteriorated to the point there was no way of identifying him. But in that general area was found the ID of a soldier. And they thought, well, maybe that's our son because his ID was found close to the crash site. But there was nothing they could do about it. No way they could prove that that was their son because the DNA technology was not available until 1998. And when that technology became available, he still had relatives that they could match the DNA against the DNA of the cremated remains, and they discovered who it was. Yeah. This soldier, Michael J. Blassie from St. Louis, Missouri, was a jet pilot, which went along with the crash site and the ID, and he was positively identified. And he no longer being unknown, his body, his remains were taken up out of the crypt of the tomb and reinterred in a military cemetery in St. Louis, right next to his father, who was a World War II veteran. Well, the Army who runs this cemetery, manages this cemetery, said, well, with this DNA technology, it's advancing, we're just not going to put any other remains in that center crypt of the tomb. And so the center crypt of the tomb at the Tomb of the Unknown is an empty crypt today. Now, who is eligible to be buried in such a special cemetery? Well, first and foremost, if you are killed in action, you are automatically eligible to be buried here. And recently, I've heard on the news, there's been a series of helicopter crashes in the U.S. Army, and soldiers were killed. And they weren't in battle, but they were in action in training, so they are eligible to be buried here. If you had received a medal for your actions in battle, Silver Star, Medal of Honor, a Purple Heart, a Distinguished Flying Cross given out by the Air Force, a Distinguished Service Medal given out by the Army. Yeah, if you had received a medal for your actions in battle, certain medals, the ones I've just mentioned to you, then that will make you eligible to be buried here. Now, a lot of soldiers who are eligible to be buried here choose not to be. They want to be buried near their hometown where they live. I talked to one soldier that was on one of my tours and told me, like, Tim, I've got a Silver Star and a Purple Heart. I can be buried here. I said, yes, sir, you can. But I don't want to be placed way off in the corner so that no one can visit me. And, he was from Missouri. He said my family would have to travel a long way to come here. So that's sometimes the most common reason why soldiers that are eligible to be buried here choose not to be. They will be buried in their hometown. But the U.S. Army provides space and services for those soldiers that are eligible to be buried here. Now, talking about the columbariums and the placement of the cremated remains, they have a columbarium wall here that's 1 mile long. It has 10,000 niches in it. And they're now beginning to fill those niches with those soldiers that mostly are of old age that have died, and their military service allows for them to be buried here. Another way that the Army is making available for those that are eligible to be buried here,
sure,
if they choose to. Now, it's Sunday, so there are no burials here today. But
just do
Monday
trending
through Saturday,
stuff, you'll
they
be
have
alright.
an average of 20 funerals a day here. And mostly
It'd be funny.
Committing those cremated remains to those columbariums. And they have about 3 or 4 in-ground burials now. Who is eligible for an in-ground burial? Well, if you are of high rank, have given 25 years of military service, or if you received one of those medals that make you eligible to be buried here. In-ground burials here at the cemetery are planned years in advance, except for those soldiers that are killed in action, they can be buried in ground pretty quickly here. But they're planned years in advance. They know exactly how the funeral's going to go. And a soldier gets one plot, and if he wants any of his family members to be buried with him, then it's one plot, one family. So we have a lot of plots here that have two bodies in one plot, so they can be together for eternity. So a lot more to tell you about the cemetery. But a lot of your visit is just walking, looking, observing, and thinking about the bravery and the service and sacrifice. It may be hard at your age to relate to this, but it's a start. Part of you being a great citizen of this country is learning about the service and sacrifice of those that come before you, and giving them honor that they so richly deserve. All right, guys, show me out the mother coach.
All right, so now this is the time. You don't need to bring anything with you. We're just walking in there. Again, it's an active cemetery, so respect at all times. You don't need your AirPods. Put them away. I don't want to see them in your ears. And let's go.
Go.
And we're off, kids. We're off, Jack.
Bro, how did my shoe get untied?
Because your mom.
I got a little bit of time. Bro.
All these kids behind me. It's crazy.
We did it. We put it in charter. So call your different
Good fire. Good Lord. So tired. So freaking tired. Bless. Are you ready, kids? So tired. Me too. Us. What?
Say it again. Get this kid back.
Broke across the border. Wait, you can't say that. Broke across the border.
So cold, bro.
I know.
Oh, really? This is shorts weather.
No. What's good? We're gonna stream. What?
That security guard on top of me.
We'll be right back.
I can't see like too far.
You're going in my pocket.
I'd like to go so bad.
line or squad lines, go.
Stay in your line.
We gotta go check. Sorry, we gotta